All right, I have 9 o'clock. This is going to be the fire weather briefing for August 11, 2025 for Washington and North Idaho. I'm here in Seattle, Brent Bauer, and we have Rachel in Spokane. Before we get started, we have this disclosure that this meeting is being recorded. By joining and participating in this session, consent is being given to the recording. Please keep cameras off per NOAA Privacy Act statement. Taking a look at the current satellite image from this morning, you can see a very large high pressure system off really the whole west coast of the United States, giving us warm and dry conditions. There are some disturbances just to the north up in Canada and Alaska that will be impacting the ridge as we go through this coming week. But for now, we're going to be high and dry under there. Here's the fire weather summary for the next 7 days, and I'll start off with Western Washington. Today and through Tuesday, we'll continue with these hot and dry conditions. We do have one of the system that way I showed you up north into Canada and Alaska will move north of the area, kind of flatten the ridge out and start moving really the thermal trough that we have over the area eastward. So we start cooling down, get much more onshore flow and moderation in the relative humidities. And then eventually there's a lot of uncertainty with a trough that's going to dig off the coast. But at this time, it looks like it's going to bring a slight chance of showers to the coast Thursday night, but then just rain on Friday, continue into Saturday. But again, we'll continue to refine that because there's a lot of different model solutions on what that low actually does. If that were to take place, that will definitely give us a reprieve from the harsher fire weather conditions. And so, Rachel, you want to take a look at the Eastern Washington, North Idaho?
Yeah, so Eastern Washington and North Idaho, we have kind of similar trends to the west side of the state. Hot, dry, and breezy today and Tuesday. Today it's going to be more northerly winds down the Okanagan Valley, 20 to 25 miles an hour. And then tomorrow we'll see winds kind of pick up more out of the west across central Washington and through the Columbia Basin late in the evening. And then Wednesday, those winds will ramp up even more, but we will start to cool down. RHs will stay pretty low through that whole time in the upper teens to low 20s. And then Friday, Saturday, as Brent mentioned, there are some chances for showers. Right now, models are showing pretty widespread showers across Eastern Washington and North Idaho with that trough that moves in, but there's still a lot of uncertainty with that. So we'll keep an eye out for any changes in that forecast. And that is all I have.
All right. Looking at conditions today as far as any highlights for fire weather, there is nothing on the west side, but there are some for the east side.
Yeah, so over on the east side here we have looks like our main fire weather day this week will be Wednesday as winds start to pick up across the region. We've got kind of our northern zones, Okanagan Valley, and a couple of those northeastern zones in elevated conditions, and the basin zones down to the Oregon border and over to the Idaho border. We've got in under critical conditions with winds, sustained speeds expected 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts 20 to 35 out of the west. And our highest confidence for these critical conditions is the Snake River Valley zone, kind of in the lower southeastern corner of the region. So yeah, Wednesday will be the day to watch out for with those winds.
All right. Let's move on then. Other hazards is that at which could impact those that are out there with firefighting is we do have um, heat advisories for much of the lowlands and foothills in the western side and a good portion on the eastern side. Really, the only thing that's not being affected by the heat are the elevations in the mountains. And even the southern part of the state, there is actually excessive heat warning. So those are things to keep in mind. Moving on to the weather. For day one, we'll look at maximum temperatures. You'll see upper 80s to 90s, even upper 90s through a good portion of the lowlands in western Washington, and even into the elevated valleys, particularly the Cascades. Not quite as much on the peninsula, but still some pretty warm temperatures to hot temperatures on the west side. And on the east side, it's triple digits. And anything you wanted to point to on the east side, Rachel?
Um, not really. Just yeah, temperatures peaking today and tomorrow. Upper 90s to triple digits, and then we'll start cooling down on Wednesday.
Looking at the min-RH then, somewhat modest on the peninsula, but then you do see into the 20s, even the low 20% range in the drier valleys of the Cascades on the west side, and widespread 20s to even teens on the east side throughout much of the area. And just a quick look at day two. Well, let's one more thing on day one. We'll take a look at the winds. You want to speak to that, Rachel? We have really no wind issues on the west side.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of point out the northerly winds down the Okanagan Valley today. We've got sustained speeds in the upper teens, and then gusts in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 miles an hour. So those will bring some elevated fire weather conditions down the Okanagan Valley today.
All right, real quickly on day two, again, we continue with the hot temperatures and the dry relative humidity, even on the west side. In fact, some of the lowlands will be in the low 20s, even like Centralia area, Chehalis, and we continue even some spots, maybe even drier than today. Before we get some moderation, and again continuing in the teens to low 20s on the east side. And for day three, let's take a look at the winds for that, and go ahead and mention the high winds over there on your side, Rachel.
All right, thanks, Brent. Yeah, so Wednesday we just have these winds picking up out of the west, mainly across central Washington and the Columbia Basin. This will be our highest day of concern, with the RHs remaining pretty low and these winds in the upper teens to low 20s for some spots for sustained speeds, and then gusts around 30 miles an hour. So it'll be a breezy day on Wednesday.
All right, and then just because we mentioned the potential for rainfall, it's nothing through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but day 4 and 5 together. This is what the current amounts of rainfall is for forecast, and so you can see even 1 to 2 inches out on the peninsula if this situation comes through like it's at least the most likely at this time. Again, we mentioned there's a lot of uncertainty with this, but as far as amounts, we're pretty much likely to get some rainfall out of this, but maybe not as high as these, but it is a potential that we do get 1 to 2 inches in the mountains, even 2.5, and the lowlands on the west side anyway are getting a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch even Lighter amounts on the east as you go over the crest, but up to an inch, and then it drops off. But some of the higher terrain, we're still getting a quarter of an inch possible there, and fairly widespread, at least a tenth and to a quarter across much of Washington. Let's go to the trends then. Some specific sites. And we're going to start off. I just wanted to show kind of the difference between the Olympic Peninsula. We'll look here at tulips, where it's a little bit, while hot, not nearly quite as dry as you'll see, with minimum RHs bottoming out right around 40% out there. So, for the two fires actually we have on the west side of the Olympics and on the southeast side, not super dry, but definitely still hot. When you get over to the Cascades, however, it's a little bit different story. Here in Ahanabakosh, you'll see, again, the very hot temperatures way in the high 90s. But the relative humidities are going to be dropping down to 20%, even possibly the upper teens in some of those high, dry valleys of the Cascades. Now moving over to the east side, we wanted to hit, I guess, Douglas. You want to speak to that, Rachel? We'll do that one and then a Northern Idaho one.
Yeah, so highlighting the kind of the just east of the Cascades here, getting into the Columbia Basin, we've got temperatures peaking today and tomorrow, and then kind of gradually cooling through the end of the week there as those short waves move through, and then RHs dipping into the upper teens this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, and then kind of gradually improving as we go throughout the week. We can see a substantial peak in the wind speeds. I believe that is Wednesday, around 20 miles an hour. Yep, Wednesday afternoon. So we'll see those winds pick up out of the west there. And then precip chances down at the bottom there, we can see those start to increase toward the end of the week as that larger trough moves in. So that's all I have for that Eastern Washington site. And then for Bonner's Ferry up in North Idaho, kind of similar trends with temperatures peaking, not quite as warm over there, but gradually cooling throughout the week after tomorrow. And then RH is kind of hovering in the 20s. And improving throughout the week. And wind speeds will also peak there toward the middle of the week, Wednesday, but won't be quite as breezy up there. And they will see greater chances for precip, most likely, toward the end of the week. So that's all I have for the trends. Thanks, Brent.
All right, so finally, we'll look at the 8 to 14 day temperature and precip outlooks with this potential change with the trough coming close by and over the area later in the week. We've damped down that stronger signal for above normal temperatures for much of the state being near normal. Just the eastern part of Washington and northern Idaho still with greater odds of being above normal temperature. And then the precip, while not above normal, it is showing normal, at least for the northern half, and still a little bit of higher probabilities of below normal for the southern half of the state. So that would be it for the briefing. We'll have these links to get to the briefing. It will be up on the website in a bit. And I guess we'll end the recording here